In a bustling corner of downtown Boston, within a polished restaurant called Azure Hearth, the evening hum was a gentle symphony of soft jazz, low conversation, and the occasional clink of silverware against porcelain. It was there that Amaya Johnson, a black waitress of quiet resilience and hidden sorrow, rushed through her fifth double shift of the week. The restaurant, dressed in candlelight and old-world charm, was deceptively inviting. Its brick walls and polished mahogany masked the relentless pressure behind the scenes. Tonight, Amaya's body ached from exhaustion, but necessity pressed her forward. Her paycheck barely covered the rent for her small apartment and the exorbitant costs of her mother's medication, now exceeding $800 a month despite insurance. Amaya was 28, tall and lean, her tight curls pulled into a low bun, and her neat navy uniform showing where at the seams. Her hands bore faint burn marks, and her sneakers, meant to be non-slip, were threadbare. Once not long ago, she had stood on the precipice of a different future midway through Harvard Medical School, excelling in pediatric neurology. She had been a natural, her calm presence easing even the most frightened young patients. Her mentor, Dr. Hellman, had once said, "You heal children before you even touch them." That dream ended abruptly when her mother collapsed in their kitchen, a bowl of chicken soup slipping from her hands onto the floor. The diagnosis, aggressive multiple sclerosis. In weeks, Amaya withdrew from school and stepped into the grueling world of service work. A sharp crash pulled her back to the present. A glass had shattered against the black and white tiled floor. Amaya dropped to her knees, scooping the pieces with practiced hands. She ignored the stares, the murmurs, the judgment. "That's the third this month, Johnson." Barker manager, Richard Bell, a man whose authority was loud but hollow. His voice carried through the restaurant, embarrassment burning her cheeks. "That's coming out of your check." Amaya nodded silently. She had no energy for arguments. Pride didn't pay the power bill. Hours passed in a blur until the hostess approached, headset askew. "Table 17, she said, almost pleading. "No one else wants it. Single kid. Dad's late." Amaya glanced toward the far corner. A young girl, maybe 10 or 11, sat alone. Her honey blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders. A bright blue cast encased her right arm. Her wheelchair was tucked behind her chair, awkward and forgotten. Without hesitation, Amaya approached. She knelt slightly, bringing herself to the girl's eye level. "Hi there. I'm Amaya. I'll be taking care of you tonight. What's your name?" The girl fidgeted, her voice barely a whisper. "Ellie." Amaya smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you, Ellie. How about some strawberry lemonade while you think about dinner?" Ellie nodded, relief flickering across her face. Minutes later, Amaya returned with the drink, a straw already unwrapped. She noticed Ellie struggling to maneuver her cast and quietly asked, "Would you like some help?" At first, Ellie shook her head, stubbornness flashing. But when the fork slipped from her fingers, frustration welled up. Amaya sat beside her, demonstrating a new grip that would ease the pressure on her broken arm. "You know," Amaya said casually, "when one part of your body gets hurt, your brain gets creative. It's already helping you find new ways." "That's pretty amazing." Ellie's eyes widened. "Were you a doctor?" "Almost," Amaya replied. "I was training to be a children's doctor." Ellie's face lit up as she practiced the new grip, managing a successful bite. Laughter bubbled from her chest, pure and unrestrained. Across the room, a man in a tailored charcoal coat watched silently, his gaze fixed on the two of them. His name was Ethan Calloway, and he was more than just a father. He was the owner of Azure Hearth, though few knew it. Tonight, he had come in anonymously to meet his daughter for a belated dinner. When he had seen Ellie seated alone, his heart had tightened. But as he watched Amaya, his heart loosened. His daughter's laughter, something he hadn't heard in months, broke through the heavy silence that had clouded their lives since her accident. Later, as the night waned and the restaurant emptied, Amaya returned with a small dessert and extra scoop of vanilla ice cream on the house. "You're amazing," Ellie said shyly, digging into the treat. Amaya winked. "Nope, you're the amazing one. I'm just lucky to witness it." As she turned away, Richard's voice cut through the evening. "Johnson, pick up the pace. And stop coddling that kid. This ain't a daycare." Ellie shrank back into her chair. Amaya's hands tightened into fists, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Her name is Ellie," she said quietly but firmly. "And she's our guest." Later, when the check came, Ethan Calloway stepped forward, slipping his card into the leather folio without a word. When Amaya returned it, he discreetly pressed a $100 bill in her hand. "You changed tonight for her," he said simply. "Thank you." Amaya blinked, startled. "Just doing my job." "You did far more than that," he said. Before she could reply, Richard barked again, summoning her to the office. The customers turned their heads. Ethan's gaze sharpened. In the office's dim light, Richard berated her, threatened her hours, docked her tips. Amaya accepted it in silence, knowing protest was futile. She left with $43 and tips barely enough for groceries. Past midnight, she slipped quietly into her apartment. Her mother, Celeste Johnson, slept peacefully under a thick quilt. Amaya kissed her forehead, then sat alone at the kitchen table, the weight of unpaid bills heavy in her lap. In a haze of fatigue, she opened her laptop. A red notification blinked. Pediatric Neurology Fellowship, late submission accepted. Dr. Hellman had kept the door open for her. She wrote a reply through tears, explaining her situation, pleading for a second chance. The next morning, a knock at the door startled her. A courier handed her a thick envelope. Inside was a letter bearing the seal of Calloway Enterprises. "Miss Johnson, last night you did something extraordinary for my daughter without knowing who she was or who I am. My car will arrive at 9 a.m. to bring you to my office, if you choose to accept. Respectfully, Ethan Calloway." At precisely 9 o'clock, a sleek black car pulled to the curb. Amaya, wearing her only professional blazer and pearl earrings, climbed in. Her heart hammered, but a tiny, stubborn hope blossomed in her chest. At the top floor of a glittering office tower, Ellie was waiting. "I told Dad you'd come," she chirped, wheeling over to greet her. They spent the morning sketching ideas for Crash the Cat, a comic about a clumsy feline hero. Finally, Ethan invited Amaya into the conference room. "You gave my daughter something no specialist could," he said. "Joy. Trust." He slid 3 offers across the table. General Manager of Azure Hearth. Triple salary. Full benefits. Director of Community Outreach, merging her medical training with charitable work. Full scholarship to Harvard Medical, with living expenses and her mother's care fully covered. Amaya listened, heart pounding. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "I don't want pity. This isn't charity," Ethan said. "It's recognition." She smiled slowly, the decision crystal clear. A year later, Amaya Johnson stood once more at Harvard Medical School, white coat crisp, stethoscope gleaming. Outside the Leah Calloway Center for Pediatric Recovery, a child's drawing hung framed in the lobby. "She saw me when no one else did. Now we help others be seen too." And Amaya knew, deep in her bones, that sometimes the hardest roads lead to the brightest places. Sometimes, miracles start with a simple act of kindness and a bowl of mac and cheese.